My name is Ryan. At Count Customs I am the lead artist and painter. Music working on motorcycles is something I truly like. I've liked two wheels since I was knee-high. Ryan Evans discreetly worked on automobile counting for years. His work shouted louder than his sparse speech. No one else could paint automobiles the way he could. Every line and every design was flawless. Then one day he simply vanished. No farewell, no response. Simply gone. What became to Ryan Evans then? Let's get started. Disappeared without a word. Few people have had as much of an impact on the custom vehicle industry as Ryan Evans. Being the loudest person in the room was never his goal. His style was never like that. Ryan remained in the rear, calm, precise, and concentrated as others revved motors and made jokes for the camera. Ryan wasn't simply another person in the shop when it came to counting cars. He was the artwork's lifeblood. His hands typically produced every unique flame, intricate skull and splash of color. Ryan provided the finishing touches that made it all memorable, but Danny the Count Coker provided the vigor and charm. Together they managed to make the machine function even though they were working on various parts of it. People took note when Ryan disappeared off the screen because of this. He was there, hands steady, concentrated, putting detail to a motorcycle tank in one episode. He was gone the next day. No goodbye, no note, no last picture of him wiping his hands and leaving. Nothing but quiet. It did not set well with admirers who had been his followers for more than a decade. The man behind the paint had vanished, but Danny continued to turn up and the shop remained open. People posed inquiries. Did he grow weary of the cameras? Was there anything going on behind the scenes? Neither Ryan nor the show provided an official statement. His appearances at car events ceased, and his Instagram dwindled. Ryan was unique from the start. He never sought attention and remained silent in a noisy world. Perhaps that's why he left when it became too bright. Maybe he needed room. Perhaps he had no intention of becoming famous. He is mostly a mystery now. Fans are still hoping for a comeback. They continue to inquire about him. His influence on the show hasn't changed. His signatures are those exhilarating rides and immaculate finishes. Perhaps he will talk sometime. Or maybe he will continue to create away from the cameras, just the way he wants it. What then caused the individual who applied the paint to vanish? We'll go over everything in a moment. Keep an eye out. How Ryan boarded the vehicle. California's Los Angeles is where Ryan Evans was born. Growing up he loved skating, sketching and anything that had wheels. He later traveled to Las Vegas, where there were plenty of opportunities to do something daring with custom automobiles and motorcycles around. Ryan never sought attention. He had no desire to appear on television. Ryan was painting long before the cameras arrived. He was well known in the Las Vegas area for his ability to transform metal into art. He had a distinct, neat and detailed style. He was more than a car painter. He used color to tell stories. Danny the Count Coker was operating Count's Customs at the time, in addition to occasionally appearing on Pawn Stars. He had a lot of energy. He cherished anything with a strong personality, including music, vehicles, and motorcycles. Danny accepted the network's offer to create his show, but he required a capable crew. He required individuals who could create and build not just for television but for real life. Ryan entered at that point. Although they had previously met, Ryan's paint job was striking, and custom car enthusiasts weren't common in Vegas. Danny immediately recognized Ryan's uniqueness after seeing some of his vehicles and motorcycles. There was balance in every design Ryan worked on. Danny brought him in because every skull and flame seemed to belong there. At first it was only to help with painting. After witnessing Ryan's talent, the producers took a liking to him. Ryan fit in with the beat of the show without trying. As an actor he was not cast. He was employed as an artist. He avoided using gaudy intros or screen tests. He simply began to appear in the background, airbrushing, painting and refining. Viewers became aware over time. He spoke infrequently, but when he did it was significant. He was likable because he was genuine. Danny provided the energy on screen. Ryan provided serenity. They were mutually balancing. No matter how crazy the builds got, the artist and the rock and roll automobile guy remained grounded. Ryan was given extra time on camera by the producers. Fans began to discover his name gradually. They were curious after seeing his work. Ryan started counting cars in this way. Just talent coming together at the right time. No grand scheme, no quest for stardom. Not merely a paintbrush. Ryan only needed something to transform an automobile into something truly remarkable. He didn't make a lot of noise. He wasn't ostentatious. All he did was labor. His language was paint. Ryan had discovered his lane long before the show had happened. He combined machines and art in a way that other people couldn't. He had a keen mind. He had an even keener eye for detail. He had the ability to extinguish a flame so smoothly that it seemed to have been manufactured. His art was about more than just looking good. It had a narrative. It took more than cars and jokes to start counting cars. It required flair. Ryan was the source of that. He was not introduced to provoke laughter. His purpose was to create. Ryan remained composed, concentrated and motionless as Danny Coker portrayed the rock star. They were mutually balancing. Ryan has a subdued yet effective style. Drama wasn't necessary for him to get attention. He let the piece do the talking. Candy paint, skulls, ghosts and flames. He completed them all. Ryan delivered regardless of how odd the concept or how short the time frame was. There was a reason Danny trusted him with the most important projects, and he consistently produced quality work. He reminded you of someone you knew. Always locked in, always working, paint-stained hoodie, black gloves and a flat hat. When he finished a flawless design that became his signature, he was always observed with a little smile, a wry joke and occasionally a scathing remark. Ryan chose to remain behind the scenes as others sought for screen time. Something changed over time. People began observing the paint jobs. They stayed for the art, but they came for the drama. Without attempting, Ryan gained popularity among fans. At events and performances, people requested his autograph. There were moments when Ryan's lines were as long as Danny's. Some brought their cars in the hopes that Ryan would paint them as well, while others brought shirts and helmets. His designs had meaning, and his work had moved them. These were no longer merely automobiles. They were recollections. And you can't fake that type of relationship. Perhaps what made Ryan unique on camera was also what made him difficult to maintain. He put his all into his work. Every job had a personal touch. He had no desire to become famous. He was striving for excellence. Some admirers merely desired to meet the man who elevated vintage automobiles to the status of works of art. He never behaved like a celebrity. Ryan was always quiet, nice, and even thanked people when they came up to him. He never stopped grinning. He was obviously not looking for attention, though. He didn't. He simply adored his job. Every ride was a canvas to Ryan. He approached that canvas as if it were a vintage muscle vehicle or maybe a petrol tank. It was always obvious that the work was more important than the fame. However, things started to shift. The timetable became more constrained. Once weekly tasks were now completed in a matter of days. While some would adapt or take shortcuts, Ryan never operated that way. He put his all into every task, and it takes time to create art like that. Part of what made his work feel correct was lost when he lost that time. The shop's neighbors began to take note. Fans did the same. By 2021, something seemed strange. Ryan appeared on screen less and less. He wasn't always present. Sometimes he was just in the background. His face was rarely visible outside of the major reveal moments and the last images of a project. Fans took to the internet right away. One question kept popping up in YouTube comments, fan pages and car forums. Where is Ryan? The show didn't respond. He simply vanished. When the job no longer feels right. Nobody had any idea why Ryan Evans had left counting cars for so long. He remained silent, and the broadcast provided no explanation. There was no farewell sequence or fan message. He was just absent one day. Many initially believed it to be a brief pause. Perhaps he had something going on behind the scenes. He might have been traveling or sick. However, as additional episodes came out and Ryan was still missing, people started to have major concerns. Internet discussion boards exploded. Fan pages began to speculate. Where's Ryan? emerged as the most often asked question beneath old videos and images. People filled in the holes because no one had a definitive response. Some people thought he and Danny the Count Coker had a falling out. Perhaps money was the point of contention. Others said that he grew weary of the cameras and the stress of appearing on television. Although no sources ever verified it, some even expressed concern over his health. There were also other rumors. Ryan reportedly built his own custom paint shop. Others thought he had accepted a position with another well-known builder in Las Vegas. According to one notion, he left the city entirely in order to live a more peaceful off-the-grid life. The longer he was off-screen, the more people conjectured, albeit none of these were ever verified. The fact that Counting Cars never addressed it only served to further muddle matters. There was no farewell scene, no on-air farewell, and no cast or crew comment. There was only quiet. Fans took note of those minor details though. The hush lingered as if he had disappeared. Ryan had always kept to himself. He wasn't looking for attention. Thus it didn't feel odd when he was silent until it went on for too long. The truth began to emerge gradually. Not in a headline, but in the little things that others close to him share. Ryan was unharmed, according to those close to the Las Vegas vehicle scene. He continued to paint and pursue his passion. Simply put, he was no longer doing it for TV. The cause it all came down to time. According to people who worked close to him, Ryan was free to invent in the early days of automobile counts. The painting process was not hurried. He had time to correct them. Every detail was examined. Each design had a purpose. Because they believed the outcomes would be worth the wait, the producers let him approach each build as an artistic endeavor. But television was different. The show accelerated as its popularity grew. There were more episodes to shoot, more deadlines, and greater pressure. Once weekly tasks now have to be completed in a matter of days. Ryan made an effort to stay up. However, the shift was challenging for someone who was so meticulous about the minutiae. He did more than paint. He worked as a tradesman. Something changed when that degree of attention was no longer feasible. In the world of cars, painting under pressure is nothing new. Tight deadlines are a problem for many builders. The work, however, was personal to Ryan. It didn't feel right if he couldn't focus entirely on a design. If he wasn't able to take a step back, admire the work and feel proud. He had no desire to do it. What spectators perceived as entertaining started to feel like a backstage grind since television couldn't keep up with his pace. Although paint tasks continued to be completed, he no longer found the process to be as fulfilling. The pressure to deliver quickly took the place of the joy of creation. He started to lose the unique quality of the work. Ryan never saw painting as merely coloring metal. It was about using art to connect, create emotion, and convey tales. The significance began to disappear along with that link. Ryan might have stayed and changed, according to some. He had the option of accepting the new pace or delegating additional work, but he wasn't that kind of person. He was never content to just complete a task. He desired to create something unique. It wasn't easy to leave. He had been contributing to the show's aesthetic for years, and his work was now a key component of what made Counting Cars unique. But ultimately he opted for peace rather than coercion. This has nothing to do with money or celebrity. Neither ever seemed to interest Ryan. He had no interest in reality TV situations or popular videos. The paint and the satisfaction of getting it just right were important to him. He took a step back when that was impossible. Some admirers are still waiting for a definitive response. Ryan hasn't provided them with a statement or a parting statement. And perhaps he won't. In a sense, everything is explained by that silence. It was not a dramatic moment when he decided to leave. It was a silent decision, a safeguard against his art becoming into something he didn't recognize. Those who have lately seen him say he seems to be at peace. He still paints, taking on a few projects, working with neighborhood builders, and coaching up-and-coming artists. The work is still ongoing. The cameras are the only ones that have. Now Ryan's life revolves around him. The clock is not being watched by any producers. No shortcuts and deadlines. Only him, the metal before him, and his tools. He may make a comeback to television, according to some. It hasn't been ruled out by him. He has stated that he would give it some thought, but only if the format allowed him to be authentic. This implies that there will be no stage drama or shortcuts, just the task. Fans won't hesitate to welcome him back if it occurs. It's okay if it doesn't, though. He's made his mark already. The streets are still filled with his paint jobs. Young painters learning the craft are still influenced by him. Ryan didn't make the decision to give up. It was about being aware of his boundaries. Something strong exists in there. Ryan accomplished the exact opposite in a society that encourages individuals to never give up. He hesitated. He paid attention to himself. When the excitement began to wane, he took a step back. It requires bravery. The majority of folks are unsure on when to leave. They continue, even when they begin to feel exhausted by the thing they love. Ryan anticipated it and quietly left before it took away all he enjoyed about his job. There was no press release left by him. He made a lasting impression. He continues to inspire with his airbrush work. People continue to replay his videos. His name is still spoken in forums, at performances, and in stores where artists research his aesthetic. Ryan showed us something uncommon. Prioritizing quality over speed is acceptable. Most importantly, it's acceptable to leave when the task no longer feels appropriate and to care too much. After Ryan went, we started counting cars. Something changed when Ryan Evans moved away from counting cars in silence. The feeling was not limited to the store. The actual show was altered. It was difficult to convey at first. The Vegas atmosphere, crazy paint jobs and loud engines were all still there in the episode. Even so, Danny the Count Coker in with a swagger and sunglasses. Even though the shop staff continued to work on cool automobiles, the show's core seemed as though a burden had been lifted. Longtime fans immediately noticed. Not everyone was able to identify it precisely. Others simply stated that it didn't feel the same. Others didn't see the silent moments when Ryan would add tiny skulls to custom paint jobs or airbrush flames. On paper, the series ran on until its conclusion in 2021 as if nothing had changed. Danny continued to show off his collection of cars, make transactions and take in builds. Horny Mike, Shannon, Kevin and the rest of the team were still present. Each of them had a certain allure. The crazy ideas came from Mike. Kevin kept everything going. Shannon remained in the background, unmoving. Although the team performed admirably, many supporters thought something was lacking. Actually, Ryan didn't make a lot of noise, but he did balance it out. Ryan remained focused on the art as others on camera fought or laughed. He added soul to the show. In his absence, counting cars started to veer more toward amusement than originality. Although custom builds were still used, the procedure seemed to go more quickly. Fans claimed that although the paint treatments were attractive, they lacked depth. The small details that only Ryan used to add. Questions flooded social media groups, forums, and comment sections. Some people questioned whether the crew's attitude had altered since Ryan left. Some believed that the show's focus shifted from craft to drama. Some were nice and just mentioned that the show was different but still good. Nobody held the crew responsible. Despite their best efforts, Ryan had created a void that no one else could fill. A few new artists and painters were displayed over time. There were some gifted people. Some contributed fresh concepts. But they were in and out in a flash. No real substitute ever existed. The show seemed to be aware that it couldn't replicate Ryan's presence. Rather, they concentrated more on the negotiations and the builds. Some viewers were upset because the art started to seem more like an afterthought. Some fans gave off watching altogether. Some people stayed, but they skimmed through some of the content in the hopes of catching even a glimpse of Ryan strolling about the store. The footage never appeared. He was totally absent.
No voiceover from behind the scenes, no flashback, no cameo. The show seemed to continue forward without retrospection. For many, the stillness was more painful than the departure. Ryan had been followed by fans for more than a decade, observing his development and his pursuit of ever more ambitious builds. Some even had his artwork permanently inked on their bodies. It seemed cold to have him depart without saying goodbye. Fans questioned whether something more significant had occurred. The rumors continued to circulate. Some believed Ryan had grown weary of the pressure, while others claimed there had been a major altercation behind the scenes. Some even speculated that the network may have kicked him out to create room for fresh talent. There was no confirmation. Ryan remained silent, as did Danny in the store. Cars were still being counted in the meantime. It experimented with novel concepts. Motorcycles were the main topic of certain episodes. In Vegas, others pursued automobile hunts. Danny continued to be passionate. Rare finds continued to fascinate him. However, the shop scenes were shorter, particularly the painting parts. There was no longer the silent beauty of witnessing an artist in action. Even the show's tempo seemed off. Builds were taking a long time in previous seasons. The stages such as sanding, taping, and color mixing were visible to viewers. Ryan frequently gave an explanation for his design choices. Those deep dives stopped happening after he left. The structures appeared TV-ready rather than Ryan-ready, according to fans. There were still good episodes of the show. Some of the builds were very beautiful. That aspect remained constant. The crew continued to care. The feeling of balance did change. There was no peace in the storm without Ryan. The presentation lacked calm yet was full of energy. In interviews, Danny was frequently asked if Ryan would ever come back. His responses were courteous and kind. He never disparaged Ryan, instead he commended his talent. He did not, however, guarantee a comeback. There was a sense of acceptance in that silence. For example, even Danny was aware that some chapters ended even though you didn't want them to. According to people familiar with the shop, things were still going well behind the scenes. The group remained occupied. The work continued. Automobiles continued to enter and exit. But the atmosphere was different. Some claimed that the energy was less concentrated and louder now. Some claimed it was just a new age. Ryan's name was preserved by online fans. They shared snippets of previous episodes. Some even painted tributes in his manner. And others uploaded pictures of his constructions. It became evident that his impact went well beyond a single performance. Younger painters claimed that they observed Ryan to learn. His work was well known among custom shops nationwide. He had made an impact on the automobile art community. Ryan was more than just a fictional character to many. He served as a reminder that genuine brilliance doesn't have to be conspicuous. His subdued demeanor added credibility to the act. It elevated it above a simple car show. That felt intimate because of that. Fans still admire the crew when they watch Counting Cars now. Big exits and audacious pronouncements were never part of Brian's legacy. It all came down to turning up, putting in the effort, and allowing the outcomes do the talking. Because of this, Counting Cars was still enjoyable when Ryan left, but it was never quite the same. Evans Ryan. After the car count, many people anticipated a major announcement, or at the very least a dignified farewell, as Ryan Evans departed Counting Cars. Rather, there was quiet. He seemed to have vanished into thin air after leaving the set. His exit felt odd and incomplete for a man who had once been vital to the success of the show. After leaving the show, Ryan reportedly went back to his own place, according to people who knew him well. He resumed working on his own projects. A few of these commissions were discreet. He had never had the time to try some of the things he had always wanted to. In addition, he started mentoring up-and-coming artists without expecting recognition. No crew was there to record his every action. Only paint, metal, and piece were used. No production crew hurried him through each job. It is important to remember that Ryan did not quit because because he detested his job. He wanted to keep it safe, so he departed. He had gradually lost something due to the demands of television, the necessity of completing intricate pieces within a few days in order to meet filming deadlines, and the rising desire for drama, meaning not simply time. The personal began to feel like a machine. His creations were no longer done for their own sake. He was trying to squeeze his artwork into a limited amount of time. Thus he was racing against the clock. Ryan has always been serious about his profession. Every undertaking was more than just a task. He wanted to use color, texture, and detail to communicate this story. There was weight to his paint jobs. They were feeling things. While some were memorials, others were tributes. Some were merely exquisite machines that had been imbued with additional spirit by his hands. He could not accept the loss of that kind of relationship. Therefore, he changed his workplace rather than his method of operation. Ryan made the decision to live a different life after stepping out of the spotlight. He no longer aims to get big TV audiences. He seeks a more straightforward goal, calm freedom, and the opportunity to develop without interference. He is still an artist without having to be seen. Every time he picks up a paintbrush and makes a design come to life, he is aware of it. Once teeming with show-related content, his social media profiles have become quiet. But sometimes a new post comes up. Ghost flames on a tank in close-up. A little preview of an ongoing mural. A beautiful metal flake coating that reflects the sky. Fans are reminded by these pictures that Ryan's talent has never diminished. Silence has, if anything, made it stronger. He has met some admirers at smaller local performances. They claim that he is courteous and composed, always delighted to talk about painting as an art form rather than the business of celebrity. He doesn't have an entourage when he travels. He is not an attention seeker. He keeps things straightforward, accepts questions, and stands by his work. The majority are taken aback by his approachability. Others claim that despite his absence from television, he still exudes the same enthusiasm that they've seen on TV. Clear-headed, grounded, and subtly intelligent, Ryan has developed a new rhythm for his life over time. He only takes on projects that genuinely interest him. You don't have to worry about camera angles or appease producers. A project is completed when it seems right, whether it takes 2 weeks or 2 months. He has experienced a different type of success as a result of that control, one that is measured in delight rather than ratings. It's also important to remember that Ryan has never denied doing television again. He has alluded to the possibility of his eventual comeback in interviews and through those close to him. But it would have to be according to his terms. He doesn't care for hasty builds, phony deadlines, or theatrics. He wants to paint with the same attention to detail, intention, and reverence for the art form that he has always done. We might meet him again if there is such a show. He is right where he wants to be till then. Ryan's disappearance has created a void in the custom vehicle TV industry. Fans continue to discuss him on the internet. In addition to his reputation as a painter, his name still carries weight because he was a guy who embodied a unique quality, sincerity devoid of ego. Ryan chose truth over trend in a day where individuals are constantly vying for attention. His story is still moving to those who grew up witnessing him at work. Ryan is frequently cited as an inspiration by young painters. He taught them patience and satisfaction in doing things well in addition to technique. His calm concentration and steady hand have influenced the civilization he helped create. Even though Ryan Evans is no longer with Counting Cars, his influence endures. It may be found in the arcs of a flame job, the brilliance of a skillfully blended fade, and the anecdotes enthusiasts share about their favorite build. Influence endures while fame fades. Ryan was more than just a car builder. He earned people's trust. He demonstrated to us that brilliance does not always require a stage and that emotion may be subdued. Ryan Evans ultimately opted for truth over performance, purpose over attention, and peace over pressure. That choice might be his best work of art more than any episode or paint job. Will he ever make a comeback to television in your opinion? Please Please share your opinions in the comments section. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you liked this video. Watch the other videos on your screen before